Hello and welcome to IT Chronicles 10 and Tech. My name is Carlos Casanova. I'm here with Shane Carlson.
Hello.
And Kathleen Wilson. Hey, Kathleen. We have Mike Alley today with us from Logicalis. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you very much.
So, Mike, all of us have been around in the service management space for quite a while, and in various roles and responsibilities. But you guys are really sort of focusing on the enterprise service management aspect of this or perspective of this. Can you kind of explain for those that maybe aren't as familiar the variant on that and what enterprise service management is specifically?
Sure, happy to. So we're all familiar with IT service management. It's been around a while. A lot of books have been written about it. A lot of companies jumped on the bandwagon because they drove efficiency and effectiveness and even alignment with the business by doing so. What has really transpired, I believe, over the last several years, somewhat in part to the platforms that are available today, is the ability to apply those same methodologies and processes to business applications.
So I have a question for you, Mike. What do you say to business partners that you walk into where there's a perception, as is often the case, that IT is not doing everything that they should be? How do you extend and have that conversation where you say, we're going to help you with all this business stuff, even though you don't really feel like we're doing everything we should be doing in IT? How do you overcome that sort of objection?
Well, many times you have to help the IT organization get a win, right? Yeah. About 3 years ago, there was a survey that came out from an online source that CIOs had rated themselves as 50% as cost centers, which we're kind of used to, 25% as business partners, and 25% had been sidelined by the business. And that really got me thinking about that. How can you be sidelined by the business as an IT organization? But it's exactly what you're asking about. The IT organizations have not been able to keep up with the demands from the business, and therefore the business goes outside of IT.
Yeah, I think that's a very common occurrence.
Yeah, and so I guess, we've seen this, right? So how much of this is, I talked to folks about it. It seems like IT has really been self-inflicted on this, right? So over the years, we tried, I'll say we because we were all part of this, right? We tried basically shielding business from, hey, you don't know any of this, just let us do it and we'll deliver it. Right. Then we never really delivered it. And then they basically started taking our terminology and using it against us, I guess, in a strange way. But we were like, hey, you don't know what a server is, so don't talk servers. Right. And then it seems like that's when the managed service providers came in and said, look, you just need to get this done. And it seemed like that just really, opened the floodgates for that ability for business to go straight to the service providers and essentially sideline the internal IT organization. Is that kind of how you see it have played out?
It is. And one of the dangers of that is going outside of IT is you also go outside of a governance model. You run risk of compliance, you run risk of data loss, and you have data in different places, and it makes it very hard to put together in a true analytical engine. We've seen this with a lot of customers. Even service management, IT service management, I think has helped do that in some ways. A lot of IT organizations doing the right thing, looking at IT service management, got so focused on the processes and the internal efficiencies that it drives for them that they absolutely lost sight of the effectiveness and the ability to align to business. I mentioned a minute ago the changes in platforms and the availability to actually do these business processes in a service management engine. That's out there today. And so that alignment of business, where previously was about getting the business services in your CMDB so you could align which IT services impacted those, to now really being able to focus and align yourself with the business focus.
And so, what would you say to IT organizations out there, what they have to start doing now? Like, what is the top 2 things that they need to start doing versus what they used to be doing in order to share that value with the business or demonstrate value to the business?
Mm-hmm. I think they have to get to a point where they're focused more on the effectiveness to the business as a part of a service management strategy. They have to understand how they can be, and I hate this term, but it's an accurate term, more agile. so they can respond quicker to changing business needs. And I think secondly, they have to understand the capabilities that they have in the current platforms and tool sets that they're using that they can really apply to the business. If I may, one quick example. A customer of ours that we had implemented IT service management capabilities for had a supply chain operations issue. That the vice president of supply chain operations was not talking to IT about a solution. But having looked and not finding one, came back to the CIO, and the CIO recommended doing it in the service management platform. Subsequently, we have done that, and two things came out of that. One, it wasn't a supply chain, it wasn't a manufacturing defect, it was a data defect. They didn't have the data to analyze what the real issues were, and quickly did that and reduced the defects they were shipping out to their stores by 25%.
Wow. So how's the case study? It seems like some of these IT organizations that maybe have been sidelined need to really kind of go back, build new confidence in these business units, and really kind of almost sell them as a external entity, saying, "Hey, trust us, come back to us." And it seems kind of strange that they're selling from inside to kind of come out. What's that business case look like?
Well, what it looks like is the IT organization recognizes that they are a service provider and identifying themselves as a service provider and making their focus. That sounds a little odd, maybe, and you think maybe they were already doing that because they're providing email and databases and things like that. But that's not the services that business need. Obviously, they're supporting services, and they need those. They have to learn to, you mentioned a minute ago that business would use the IT terms against them. IT has to learn to use business terms, and they have to make that, fill that gap with the business to understand how the IT services they can provide actually drive revenue, drive or reduce risk, and those kinds of things. Most business or lines of business managers or CEOs don't wake up in the morning saying, "I'm going to buy me some cloud today," or "I'm going to buy me some managed services." They wake up saying, "How am I going to increase my revenue or my market share? How am I going to reduce my risk?" Those types of things is what's on their mind.
So a question for you, Mike. What's the typical use case or user story that you guys are seeing that starts the conversation with the business that says, "Look, we've got some great ideas in IT that we've been doing to deliver services, and we think they translate well into the business"? Where do those conversations usually start, and what does that look like?
Well, they definitely start at the C-level. A lot of those conversations, interestingly enough, have started where the CIO wants to bring in a new service management platform to accomplish these things and to sell the value and the vision to business. They actually have to work with us to come up with the ideas of how it might apply to business. One other real quick example, recently working with a customer who wanted to do exactly that, but they knew there were some other business processes that were more important to the CEO and the CFO. And we quickly showed them how they could accomplish those business processes in the same platform, significantly increasing their revenue and their customer satisfaction. And that was an easy business case to sell at that point.
Excellent.
So, Mike, the platform you were talking about, right? It seems like, I've seen it on various occasions. Do you also see them using the platform as a way to help sell, "Hey, we need to turn this around, we need to go in a different direction," and look at it from an enterprise perspective? So does the tool discussion also help that argument?
I believe that it does, because the platforms and the tools that really can expand that way typically are at a higher cost. And so you're typically having to go to the business managers and the CFO to make that business case. So I think that enables that. I think the ability to show that vision and value is what really helps a company make a decision to change directions, both from an IT organization and very possibly from a business perspective.
Excellent. So, Mike, thank you for joining us today. It's been, I think a lot of us, like I said, we've looked at this from that business outcomes perspective and the enterprise service manager perspective. So I think for a lot of us, this is what we've been pushing for. So it's kind of great to see that, you know, there's organizations out there now that are really focusing on that more fully encompassing perspective on things.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you know, your progress in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks.